Welcome into a Week 15 edition of Buffalo Bills Weekly, where we take you behind the curtain at One Bills Drive. He's Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. In this week's episode, we'll dive into another incredible performance by Bills quarterback Josh Allen, discuss how Buffalo's defense can get right, and much more. Chris, this year the Bills are 6-0 at home, but 4-3 on the road after facing a loss in LA last week. They've got another tough road test this week in Detroit.
Yeah, and the defense will be under the microscope. They didn't have a lot of answers for that Rams offense. Bobby Babich this week said they have to get back to basics, and everybody has to get back to doing their job, and they better, because they're going to face a lot of similar concepts from this Lions offense this week.
Even in a loss, Bills quarterback Josh Allen shined last week. In the second half, he turned into a superhero, giving Buffalo a chance to win, making plays with his legs and making plays through the air. He finished as the first quarterback to record 3 passing touchdowns and 3 rushing touchdowns in the same game.
Yeah, it was nuts. Over 400 yards of total offense as well. And he's done that 9 times in his career. It's just crazy to think he has a 4-5 record in those games. Needed a lot more help from the defense and the special teams. The Bills only were clicking in one phase of their game, and that's not enough to beat a team like that on the road. They're all going to have to come to the party this week against this Detroit team.
I think what was the most impressive part about Josh Allen's performance against LA was the fact that in the second half, those big plays that he made, it wasn't out of structure. He didn't put the ball in harm's way, and that's big growth from our quarterback. Looking back on the past several seasons, when the game was on the line, he would oftentimes put the ball in harm's way.
Yeah, he was insanely accurate too. There were some tiny, tiny windows that he threw into where his precision had to quite literally be perfect, and for most of the day it was. And I also thought his choices of when to leave the pocket and run were bang on in this game. It's why he was getting not 5 and 6 yard runs to keep them ahead of the sticks, but more like 20 and 30 yard runs. His decision making was on point.
Buffalo's defense had an uncharacteristic performance in LA last week. They allowed 44 total points, and it started up front at the line of scrimmage. The defensive line just wasn't getting enough pressure on Rams quarterback Matthew Stafford. No sacks by them, and this has been an issue since week 8. They only have 10 sacks since week 8. That ranks as the 3rd worst over that span. How can the defense get back to affecting the quarterback?
Yeah, they have to know what's coming, and I felt like they never had an answer for the Rams' trademark rollout passing game. They sent Stafford out on bootlegs an awful lot to give him an opportunity to see all 3 levels of the field and make decisions accordingly. You've got to find a way to outflank him, hem him back into the pocket, because the Detroit Lions are going to do the same thing with Jared Goff. They're going to be rolling him out, getting him out on the edges of that defense, and throwing to all 3 levels of the field, depending on what's open. The Bills have to come up with an answer for that to neutralize that, keep him in the pocket, and then squeeze it down and bring him to the ground.
It was the first game that Buffalo's defense hadn't forced a turnover. They had done so in every single game this season. Defensive coordinator Bobby Babich said, we have to get back to what we know how to do. We have to get back to those fundamentals and basics. We're going to take a break, but when we return, we'll get into the most important storylines in Sunday's matchup against the 12-1 Lions, and the best press conference clips are coming up.
When we return, Maddy Glab interviews streamer and gamer Ninja in this week's episode of You Heard, and then later catch the press conference highlights in Soundbite Roundup.
What's up, everyone? It's Ninja, and you just heard.
Welcome into another episode of You Heard, where athletes, influencers, and celebrities help us get ready for Sunday. In this week's episode, we've got professional gamer and streamer Ninja joining us. Ninja, thanks so much for being on. We know you are a huge Detroit fan because you grew up in that area. You've got the Lions jersey on. You look at this matchup across the board. You look at the stats that each team has put up over the last 13 weeks of the season, the last 14 weeks of the season, and it has the making of what could be an incredible game. Why are you excited to watch these two teams face off?
I mean, Josh Allen right now is obviously lead candidate for the MVP race, and you know, he's just having one of the greatest years of his entire career. He's protecting the ball, which is one thing that he never really used to do. You could always count on Josh Allen to throw a pick or two, trying to do too much. And he's just not doing that anymore. So it's going to be really tough. And our defense is kind of beaten up right now. So I think you're going to have pretty much an incredibly similar game that we saw last week, or this Thursday, or no, I think it was Sunday night with the Rams. it's just going to be a shootout.
Yep.
I really truly see that. The Bills' offense is obviously their shining point, and same with the Lions right now. So, I mean, I hope we win. We're currently favored to win right now, but if we can't stop Josh Allen, it's going to be tough, right?
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, it's scary. It's gonna be an incredible game.
That's how, our fans are talking about this matchup, and like, it's going to be really hard to stop Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Like, that all starts at the line of scrimmage. They're so good. They've combined for 24 total touchdowns this year. So while the Bills have really tough elements to play against, so do the Detroit Lions. And who knows, maybe this could be a Super Bowl preview where we see these two teams
How
match
sick
up
would that
again
be?
in February. At the end of the day, I think that would be incredible. Two fan bases who really deserve it too, right?
I love the Bills. I've always loved the Bills. I've loved Josh Allen. So I was rooting for you guys like every year that we weren't there and you guys were making runs. I really wanted you guys to do well. I've always liked your team. So yeah, no, I agree. We both need it. And if we both end up there, that'd be pretty perfect.
So when you start to talk to NFL players about like, what are your hobbies? What do you do in your free time? A lot of these guys just want to be sitting during their free time because they use their bodies so much throughout the week. And then on Sundays, Thursdays, whenever you're playing a game, they've got to have time to recover and chill. And you can do that when you're gaming. It's a mind game, but you're not going out there and beating up guys. So you hear a lot of NFL players say, I love gaming. I love playing this game, that game. I love gaming with my teammates or guys on different teams. Which NFL players love gaming that you've come across?
Tyreek Hill. I know that Tyreek's a huge gamer. He loves Fortnite. He actually might be one of the smarter like content creator, like NFL content creators that kind of like leaned into streaming. And what I mean by that is like he's done like skits in Fortnite, which is like not a lot of people do like ongoing skits in Fortnite that are NFL players. Like they'll play and they'll stream and they'll like post wins or cool clips and stuff like that. But he had this thing where, these bananas would always just like troll him. And it's actually just hilarious. So Tyreek's one of them. There's a couple of others. I don't know if Brock Wright's a gamer, but we recently had him on one of our shows. I know that he does game, and I don't know. No one really reaches out to game with me personally, or at least doesn't DM me. So I don't know many specifically, but I know for a fact the Cheetah is big gamer, and a lot of them probably are. Yeah.
I love that. So Fortnite OG Chapter 1 Season 1 is now back, and I know so many people are so pumped to play the 2017 version of the game. Why are you really excited? I know you've already played it, but what are some of the most exciting elements of that OG Season 1 Chapter 1?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just so thirsty for nostalgia lately in these last couple of years, and just in every aspect, not just video games. So it seems to be like an ongoing thing as you get older, where if you can just get a little. I mean, I watch an old movie and I cry. Like the Santa Claus. It's one of my favorite movies. My wife and I's favorite Christmas movie, and there's just the nostalgia around it, right? Where like it's the music and I just immediately start bawling. So I feel like that's like with Fortnite, it's already been 7 years since OG came out. And yeah, a lot of people just they felt like it was simpler. They felt like the game was just better. And Epic finally was just like, what? Obviously, there's enough people that want this, so we're going to give you guys a playlist, and it's just going to roll out throughout the rest of next year. So it's not going away, which is great. Last year, it came back for like a month, and they took it away. So I mean, I love it. I'm already having a blast. My viewers are excited about it. It's bringing back a lot of people that have never played before, or that haven't played in a very long time, even some of my own friends. So. That was kind of the beauty of Fortnite to begin with. It was one of the first games that really implemented cross-platform, where like a player could play on Xbox and PlayStation and PC with one another, and it brought a lot of people together back in the day. And I think it's happening all over again.
That's awesome. Are you even more excited to play Tilted Towers again in Season 2?
Oh, absolutely. The map currently right now is a little dry with places to land, but Season 2, when that comes out, Tilted Towers comes back, you'll find me there.
We'll be right back on You Heard. Stay tuned. So you recently appeared on the St. Brown podcast with Amon-Ra St. Brown and Equanimous St. Brown. Why do you love when those two worlds collide?
Dude, okay, so first off, I had a little bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like hesitation about how I feel about players creating content, doing podcasts throughout the season, like live during the season. But obviously they have enough downtime, and it clearly isn't distracting Amon-Ra at all. So I started watching it, and dude, they're hilarious, man. Their banter back and forth. It's like this dry, constant humor, waiting for the other person to break. It's hilarious, and just any inside scoop that we can get of that locker room that isn't already on camera when they're doing the breakdown after a game, or that's not caught in an interview, is just delightful. I'm obsessed with the Lions and everyone on that team. So like, to hear stories that we haven't heard from anyone else, because Amon-Ra sharing those experiences and those stories with us through his podcast, I love it. I feel like there are definitely personalities on every team that could do this for their teams, and I know that the fans would just eat it up like we have.
Definitely. I got a flashback to 2015 for a hot sec. You appeared on Family Feud, and you said you were a professional video game player, and Steve Harvey encouraged you and said, hey man, go follow your dreams. Have you looked back on that and all the success that you've had in such a short amount of time? I mean, now you have more than 19 million followers on Twitch and have close to 24 million subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, it's always a nice throwback to when, to see in that video and the YouTube video sometimes. And like, I'll even get people who will like meet me and they're like, bro, you were on Family Feud in like 2015. Like, even that, like I was just starting to date my now wife then. And, we were in, it was crazy. It was a crazy story. We're just sitting in her dorm and we're watching Family Feud. I'm like, God, these families are so dumb. These questions are so easy. And then just jokes around. And she's like, well, why don't you just apply and see? I was like, okay, like figured out how to do it, sent in the video, and boom. So, but yeah, it was really cool, right? Because I remember Steve was like dumbfounded. He was like, video games, like what? How's that even a thing? And now, everyone knows that you can either be a professional gamer or a streamer or content creator now.
Last question for you. What do you have coming up?
Oh, geez. Andres would probably know more. We got just the amazing, better tasting, better for you drink, dairy-free, gluten-free. It's called Nutcase. 3 flavors, chocolate, vanilla, and strawberry. You can go to drinknutcase.com. We're only shipping through the USA right now, but it's phenomenal, delicious, and a nice little supplement. And if you have dairy issues, no dairy in it. It's phenomenal. So I got that, and then nothing really for the rest of this year. I'm honestly just chilling. I've actually just started streaming a lot more recently, which has been a lot of fun, finding it like my passion again for it. So I'm excited for next year, excited for the rest of this year, and excited for our match. Is it Sunday night, right?
Sunday afternoon, 4:25 game of
let's
League
go.
One against the Detroit
How
Lions.
is that how do we have the afternoon slate?
It's because these networks come in and they get to choose, and then they'll block the games and they'll say you can't flex this into Sunday night or Monday night. This is number 1 on our list, so you're not taking it. So that's how that happens.
Well, it's really the only 325 game to actually no, it isn't. Sorry, I digress. But okay, yeah, I'll see you then.
I know, it's America's Game of the Week, so CBS's pregame crew will be there for pre and post, so they're going to make it as big of a thing as it can be. Their pregame crew came to one of our games, and they had guys jumping through tables and doing funny things like that, so I'm sure they're going to mix, some Detroit things in with the pregame show, so it'll be fun to watch.
Cool. Can't wait.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it, and looking forward to this huge game on Sunday.
Awesome. Thank you, Maddy.
When we return, catch the highlights from this week's press conferences in Soundbite Roundup.
Trust the routine and trust the process is certainly one approach, and certainly what I subscribe to. But within that is you better bring your heart, you better bring your guts, you better put it on the line, you better give max effort, you better put it on the line. And so that's never been 2 separate thought processes. The process is the process. It's the approach and the preparation. And then the mindset has always been the mindset of this is football. And you got to bring it every day, every week. And our players know that. We certainly have to improve in some areas, and that's one of them in terms of the line of scrimmage.
Forces us to know that we got to be better. And we know that internally. We've had these discussions and these talks, and we're sitting at 10-3. We're not going to overreact to anything that's been done. Obviously, we want to get better. We want to win every single game that we play. But I think it was a case of you saw a team that's fighting for their lives and to try to make the playoffs. in the Los Angeles Rams, and they came out ready to play, and maybe we didn't have that type of urgency that we should have each and every single game. So again, it starts with me and the leaders on this team, and starting in practice, making sure that we have that type of competitive edge, and that's what we're playing with.
I think it comes down to just a week of preparation. I know I can do a better job of making sure everybody's on the same page, Monday through Saturday, and making sure that when we go into the game, everybody's in a clear headspace and ready to perform at a level that's, going to help us win. And, so I take it back and look at myself and what I can do better and, really how I can help myself and the guys around me, and be in better positions.
Any good defense, any good team, right? You face adversity, you respond. And that's the sign of a good team. And, our last loss against Houston, I think we responded the week after that, and then I think that showed. So we'll be ready to respond. You got to win line scrimmage to win a football game, and that's playing against anybody. When you talk about the Lions specifically, like I said, they do a lot of different things. They're not just specific to one specific run scheme or anything, so you got to be prepared. But at the end of the day, it's all about us reading our keys and doing our job.
Yeah, I think we just continue to trust the process. You don't change anything after wins. Obviously, we're trying to make corrections after wins as well, and that's all we're trying to do. We're just trying to stick to what we know, learn from what happened, and move on.
Welcome back into Buffalo Bills Weekly. Week 15 is here. Buffalo is heading to Detroit to take on the 12-1 Lions. These are two teams with Super Bowl potential. It's the best offense in the NFL, and the Lions going up against the second best in the Bills. Buffalo needs a get-right game after facing a tough loss against LA last week, but this isn't going to be a cakewalk here because the Lions are the best team in the NFC.
And probably the most complete team in football. So to beat them, you have to play a three-phase football game. We talked about this earlier, but it's where one phase is played literally has to play into the other. It's what Sean McDermott always calls complementary football. So that means special teams has to win the field position battle. It means the offense has to sustain drives and finish them in the end zone. And the defense really just has to step up here and neutralize things that the Lions like to throw at you, so they're not finishing drives in the end zone because they are the highest scoring team in football.
Buffalo's defense is going to be tasked with stopping a two-dimensional offense in the Lions, and that starts up front with that two-headed monster, running backs Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. They combined for 24 total touchdowns, and it doesn't stop there because Lions quarterback Jared Goff is one of the most efficient passers in the NFL, so you have to make sure the rush and coverage completely work together. What's the recipe for success here?
Well, the defense has to play their most physical game of the season. I think that's pretty obvious. The winning at the line of scrimmage is going to be critical if you want to slow down. I don't know if you can stop, but at least slow down that run game of the Lions. And then pass-wise, you have to be ready to communicate pre-snap against that double motion. We saw it last week. Again, referencing the Rams, they'll motion a guy early in the pre-snap and then motion him right before the snap again. It forces a defense to flip their alignment and strength of their defense. If you don't have all 11 guys communicating, or at the very least your back seven, you're going to be at a disadvantage when the play is unfurled on you. They couldn't get it right last week against the Rams. We saw what happened. They have to have their communication down in this one, or it's going to be a long afternoon.
The communication is going to have to follow over to the offense as well, because when you look at the matchup between Buffalo's offense and Detroit's defense, it's the second best scoring offense in Buffalo, who's averaging over 30 points per game, going up against the second best scoring defense in the Lions, just allowing 18 points per game. It's a type of matchup where you have to be buttoned up in all areas. Bills head coach Sean McDermott said after last week's loss, they need to get back to running the football because the running backs combined for just 20 rushing yards in last week's game. How can the Bills be the aggressor against a banged-up Lions defense who has multiple players on injured reserve?
Once again, much like the defense, you got to win the battle at the line of scrimmage. Again, it's being the more physical team, and that's going to be hard. It's against one of the most physical teams in the league, but to your point, they are banged up on defense. They're missing some key starters. We'll have to see who they have on the defensive line because several were out last week in their game. So look, You got to try to run the football. Now, I think that the Lions are going to load up the box and challenge you to throw it. They've done that against previous opponents. They try to out-angle you on the edges in the run game. So they're going to have to be mindful of that, and it may fall on Josh Allen's arm again to kind of carry this offense again this week. And the offense really has to step to the forefront here because the defense has a boatload of issues to take care of. That's going to be a tall task for them. You may just have to outscore this team.
Last week, the game was put on Buffalo's offense to try and win the game. They got really close, but Bills quarterback Josh Allen had 5 plays of 20 or more yards in the air in the second half. That's hopefully going to follow over into this week against a really tough Lions team.
Yeah, they've got to be on point on offense because it could be a ping pong match between these two offenses.
You can catch the game this Sunday, December 15th on CBS and Paramount+. Chris will be on the radio with the call, so to hear him and Bills legend Eric Wood, you can listen to WGR 550. The Bills are 3-1 against the NFC this season. We want to thank you for tuning in to Buffalo Bills Weekly. For Chris Brown, I'm Maddy Glab. We'll see you next week.